Good morning. It's Friday morning at 10:07, well, 10:08 today. It's time to start the show. You've reached KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station, and I'm Rich Sherman. You've reached the Real Estate Fix with Rich. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Got a lot to go over today, as we do every day. I always seem to have more information than we have time on the show, but today's going to be fun. We've got a special guest. John is in with us today. He's a client of ours. We just closed an escrow with. We're going to tell you about his story, kind of what we were able to do for him, because it's definitely emblematic of the kind of stuff my office does. We solve problems. That's why I'm here. The whole idea is to solve people's problems. Whatever your real estate problem is, bring it to me. We'll get it solved. Where there's a will, there is a way. And one of the reasons I do all that is because I've been doing this. Actually, we counted it up yesterday. It's 33 years I have been actually in real estate professionally. Since I was 19 years old, I've been doing this. For those of you doing the math, you can figure out I'm 52. So I've been at this a while, but anyway, I see a lot of problems in the market, and they bother me, and they keep me up nights. And so one day, many, many years ago, I just decided that I was going to start taking them on, whether there was money in it or not. And so we've sort of established a very sort of pay it forward kind of a business model, because we do all of this stuff for free. I'm told I don't talk about that enough. So if you have a real estate problem, whether it's mortgage or probate or whatever your problem could be, just give me a call. And I give out my number all the time on the air. It's 661-714-1400. Number again is 661-714-1400. And that is my personal cell phone number. You can reach me at that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If I don't answer because it's 2 a.m, just send me a text. I'll call you back as soon as I can. I usually do answer at 2 a.m. But anyway, so yeah, I'll be happy to help. Whatever your problem is, I'll be happy to help. We do it completely for free. Feel free to give me a call anytime. Also, want to get this out of the way. I am not an attorney. My mom thinks it's great that people think I'm an attorney sometimes, but the reality is I'm not. However, for those of you who watch the show or listen to the show, I say watch because it gets rebroadcast on Facebook Live, and it gets shown on YouTube as well. Very thankful for that. I think a few other places too. But anyway, for those of you who are fans of the show, and those of you who are, thank you. I talk about this sort of stuff all the time, and yeah, we do it totally for free. And so that's how come I got a platform to talk about these things, because there's a lot of problems in the real estate market. There's a lot of people that get taken advantage of. Sometimes they don't know any better, and I stand in opposition to all of that. And whatever your problem is, we can fix it. We can do it for free. All you got to do is give me a call. We'll start getting it worked out. So if you got a problem, whatever it is, give me a call. But as I said, I am not an attorney. My mom thinks it's great that people confuse me as I am. My opinions are my own. I am married to an attorney, if that helps anyone. We have other attorneys in my office as well. So we have them on staff should you need them. But give me a call. We'll be happy to help. Let's get into some market stuff, because we always like to start the show with what's going on with the real estate market. And this week, pretty much the same as it has been. Not a whole lot of activity of late. I've got some of the numbers here from the good people at the Southland Regional Association of Realtors, as we call them, SRAR. And I'll do the Santa Clarita numbers first. The median home sale price in Santa Clarita as of June 2023 is $775,000. That's down 1% year over year compared to June of 2022. Now, if you compare that number to, say, April or May of 2022, you'll see that we're down about 7-8%. So this puts us about 9%. I would even say as much as 10 in most of the areas in Santa Clarita, but we have clawed a little of that back. The problem is, and this is all stuff that we've been talking about, and I will say I am not always right about the real estate market. I'll be the first one to admit that, but I'm right a lot more than most people you know, and I'm right a lot more than I'm wrong. So what I have been saying for quite some time is that I think the market was going to drop about 10% as a result of the Fed spiking the interest rate, which it did. And I still think we got about another 5% to go. I've revised that down a little bit to about 3%, because what's basically happened is we lost about 10% in value. Then so few houses have come on the market because so many people have low interest rates. I talk about that every week. Because 70% of every American mortgage right now is at 4% or under, and the going rate is about 6.5, 6.75, depending on who you get your mortgage from. So a lot of people are not selling there's not as much inventory on the market. So that is generating a lot of that. So that's kept prices artificially high. I shouldn't say artificially. Let's get prices high because you don't have inventory on the market, and that's not improving. By way of example, in the Santa Clarita Valley, we do every year a hair under $4 billion in real estate sales. It's a big number for, a community of 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 people. And you count the outlying areas, about 500,000 people doing, nearly $4 billion in sales is a lot. Unfortunately, the year-to-date volume so far is off by 34%, and it's only $1.03 billion. So what that's telling you is just stuff we've been talking about. The real estate market is shrinking. The real estate market has gotten smaller. The number of sales is just fewer. We've dropped about 40% overall. And what that means is there are 40% fewer people buying houses, and there are 40% fewer people selling houses. Even during the pandemic, even 2022, we had better numbers than this. And because there's not enough inventory on the market, because there's so little inventory on the market, supply and demand. And so that has kept prices high. Now, when I say the market is shrinking, think of it this way. If you think about a chart, pricing for virtually everything is dictated, especially in the real estate market, is dictated by supply and demand. How much do people want to buy houses? How many are out there to buy? That's what dictates everything. And as the market has shrunk, what has happened is it's sort of a race to the bottom between supply and demand. And what has been going on is that supply has fallen faster than demand, and that's kept prices higher. However, that is not a sustainable situation. At some point, inventory will start to return to whatever we call normal levels, 2022 levels, if you like. And when that happens, prices are going to fall a bit. I don't think they're going to crater. I don't think it's going to be 2008, 2009 all over again. I do not think that at all. There's no evidence to support that, but it does indicate that in the not too distant future, in the coming months, we are going to see prices come down a bit. And that's all a result of the interest rate. So as the interest rate goes up, we know the Fed is going to raise it at least 2 more times before the end of the year. And we'll see how the interest rate in the mortgage market actually reacts. And we talked about that before, as bonds versus the stock market. And again, the short course there is when the Fed raises the interest rate, it depends on what money does in the stock market. If it stays in the stock market, so investors don't pull money out of the stock market just because the Fed raised the interest rate, in other words, there's no fear, then interest rates are going to go up. However, if the money in the stock market runs to the bond market because they are worried, bond market's a lot more stable than the stock market. If the bond market grows as a result of the Fed increasing interest rates, then what will happen is prices are going to go down. That's just the nature of things. So interest rates are going to go down. So pay attention to that. It's what the Fed does, and then the market's reaction to it is what dictates, between the bond and the stock market, is what dictates really more than anything else what the interest rate does. There's a lot more to it, but that's a good cliff notes. Anyway, so let's get back to the numbers. So in Santa Clarita in June of 2023, there were 262 new listings, which is down by 43% year over year, exactly what we've been talking about. The number of active listings, and this is the entire Santa Clarita Valley, 278. That's it. Right now, there are only 278 properties for sale, condos, houses, residential property in all of Santa Clarita. That is down 58% year over year. That hurts. And as far as pending sales, same story. 169 sales currently pending. That means 169 properties in escrow. That's down 40%. So digest that for a second. 262 new listings, down 43%. 278 active listings, down 58%. 169 pending sales, down 40%. That is not a recipe for success in the real estate market. And really, when the Fed says they're trying to bring down inflation, they really mean the housing market. They mean everything, but they are really, really, really looking at the housing market, because housing prices went up during the pandemic. They went up way higher than anyone was really prepared for, nearly 20% across the board. And now we're having to give back some of that gain because the Fed is concerned about the inflation rate. Now, I don't agree with the Fed on this. They don't ask me about these things. I think the interest rate needs to be at 5.5. That's a nice, stable, healthy interest rate. That's good for the market. And right now we're about 1.25 over that. So that is a problem. Let's take a look at closed sales. Last month, 250 closed sales, which is down 30%. Average days on market, 22 days, which is 7 days longer than it was. I think that's probably a paperwork issue. The difference between 27 or 29 days and 22 days is academic, really. Year-to-date total sales volume, we talked about that, $1.03 billion, down 34%. We are not in great shape. Let's take a look at the San Fernando Valley, similar numbers. The median sales price for the San Fernando Valley in June is up to $900,000, but that's down 5%. So we lost 5% in June year over year. San Fernando Valley lost 5%. Last month was a little bit different, but prices are starting to rise. Prices are held high because there's so little inventory, but overall, they are still coming down a bit. Median single house price in the San Fernando Valley is now $1 million even, which is down 9% year over year. Condominium sales down up 1% as far as the sales price. $600,000 is their average compared to our average single family home, $828, down 5% year over year. Our average for condos, $525, down 5% year over year. So again, same thing. Their inventory levels in San Fernando Valley, 910 new listings, down 37%. 1,256 active listings, down 40%. Keep in mind, the San Fernando Valley is 4 or 5 times the size of the Santa Clarita Valley. Like almost 3 million people in the San Fernando Valley now versus our 300,000. So I guess almost 10 times. Anyway, 555 pending sales, down 32% year over year. 794 closed sales, down 23% year over year. Average days on market up by 24 days, same as our valley. And the year-to-date total sales volume, which is also down, is 4.49 billion, which is down by 34%. So we're seeing those numbers across the board. The amount of sales that are happening are down by 34% year-to-date. The number of closed sales year-over-year, just in the month, is down 30% for us, 23% for the San Fernando Valley, and the prices are starting to slide a little bit as well. Although I got to tell you, we're out there working with buyers, you wouldn't notice that the prices are starting to slide because there's so little inventory out there that anything that is even remotely interesting is seeing all kinds of multiple offers and all kinds of crazy stuff. So one of the things we should talk about, and I talk about this all the time, is if you're looking to sell a house, now is a good time to do it. Prices are up. And there's very little inventory, so you'll have a lot of people who are trying to get in to take a look at your house if you want to sell it. It's a pretty hot market at the moment. Things are moving quickly. There's just not enough of it, which is good news for builders because builders are building an awful lot more. So that's good stuff. But if you are going to go get into the market, which you should, I think everyone should, especially if you're looking to buy a house, there's something you really, really ought to do. We have one of the sponsors of the show. His name is Sam Chong, the Mortgage Hub. Sam's a long-time associate with us. He's absolutely fantastic. He does a great job. He gets people loans that they otherwise could not get. I've seen him pull rabbits out of his hat, miracles out of his hat, time and time again. He's got 3 or 4 of them he's working on for me right now. And it's fantastic. So you should definitely talk to him. His name is Sam Chong. He's with the Mortgage Hub. They have offices in Texas and California, and I think they're in 17 states now. Company's been done really, really well. And I will tell you, they're a very kind of pay-it-forward sort of company as well. Their business philosophy is very similar to mine, which is why we do as much stuff together. And they will get you a loan and other people can't. And if that wasn't good enough, you'll also pay less for it. Their fees are lower and their interest rates are a little bit better. So Sam Chong, the Mortgage Hub, is who you want for a lot of this stuff. I recommend him most highly. He does not all, but he does the majority of the loans for our clients. We tell clients all the time, you don't have to use them, but you'd be very foolish not to shop with him because I think you're going to find that he's got a better deal for you. So Sam Chong and the Mortgage Hub, if you need his information, give me a call. I can give it to you, or you can get it off the station's website under the Real Estate Fix. He's there as well. So, right. So let's get into this a little bit. I want to talk about this. Everyone's talking about a pending housing crash, and I don't disagree because I think there's going to be one as well. But there's some key factors we should look at. Now, no less a source than Newsweek just put out this article. It says, will there be a market crash? And it's talking about the key factors. The chief thing in the market right now is obviously interest rate and a shortage of homes. That's everything. So a shortage of homes for sale is keeping the U.S. housing market afloat, despite many experts' belief that the housing market would tumble this year. I was one of those experts. I didn't think it would tumble. I thought it would come down a bit, and it has. So I don't know if I said it was going to tumble, but I did say it was going to come down. Anyways, the Federal Reserve continues to hike interest rates, and to combat inflation, there were predictions that 2022's booming market would end in 2023. Mortgage rates have soared past 7%, more than double the average of 3.22% for a 30-year mortgage in January of 2022, only a year and a half ago. But the housing market has remained stable as low inventory fuels a supply shortage. Now, here's the big number going through all of this. I can go through all the numbers. Now, Fannie Mae revised their estimate. They said the market was going to decline. Now they're saying it's not going to decline quite as much by a whole 0.1% of 1%. But that is a revised estimate. They are saying it's not going to be as bad as they thought, which is good. But here's the key thing in this article. Last week, Fannie Mae released a statement in which it anticipated that a recession is still, quote, the most likely outcome of the Fed's policy on interest rates. Again, let that sink in. This is Fannie Mae, one of the biggest mortgage lenders in the world. It's what they call a GSE, government enterprise. It's half government, half private is the idea. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both that way. They buy up most U.S. mortgage debt, and they're telling us that according to them, they think a recession is going to happen. Now, I would submit we're already in one. We talked about that last week. There's a wage recession right now. There's an earning recession right now that's already underway. People's wages have not kept pace with inflation, which is what the Fed is trying to fight. I just don't get how they're doing it. So, yeah, I think we're already in a recession. I think it's going to get worse, but we'll see. Meanwhile, housing prices so far have been resilient, but this is the Fed telling us there's going to be a recession. I think it would be wise to listen. One thing I also want to touch on before we go to break is there are markets around the country that you need to pay attention to because they are already starting to crater. I've got an article here, 10 housing markets where demand is crashing through the floor. Now, that's a heck of a headline, where demand is crashing through the floor. I don't think it's doing that anywhere exactly. But when you look at some of these numbers, they're hard to ignore. Now, obviously, I keep my focus primarily on Southern California, but I do business in other parts of the country, so I do try to pay attention a little bit. So let's talk about some of these. Northport, Sarasota, Florida is down 50.1% in demand. And keep in mind, that's much like our situation. There's not enough inventory coming to the markets. That's one of the reasons the demand is lower. But yeah, 50.1%, that's getting hit even harder than we are. Austin, Texas, one of the coolest towns in Texas for my 2 cents. From October 2021 to 2022, Austin saw a demand decrease of 52.7%. Markets shrinking 40%. They got a 52.7% shrink. That's bad. Only 694 homes were sold in Austin between October of 21 to 22 versus 1,167 sold in October of 2021. So they're starting to come down as well. Boise, Idaho went up like a rocket. Everyone I know is moving to Boise the last couple of years. Starting to slow down. Boise is witnessing a 54.7% decline in housing demand compared to a year earlier. Wichita, Kansas. Wichita has gone down 54.8% decline in housing market this year. The average cost of a home in Wichita is the highest it's been in more than 5 years, with a median home price around $217,000. That won't even buy you a tent in most of Southern California, but good for Wichita, Kansas. So again, it's not necessarily the pricing, it's the amount of houses being sold. They're down 54.8%. Las Vegas, Nevada, our neighbors to the east. Las Vegas had a housing boom in the early 2000s, but now demand has gone down 55.4% in the last year. And 44.2% of homes listed in Las Vegas have dropped their prices. That is the key number, is that they're starting to drop prices in Vegas in order to get houses sold. Phoenix, Arizona, demand for homes there has declined 60.5% in the past year. 52.9% of the homes in the market in September of last year saw a price decrease. Stockton, California, demand for homes in Stockton has gone down 60.7% in the past year. These are things that are worrisome. In September, a home in Stockton would have cost you an average of $410,000, which is a 3.5 decline compared to a year earlier. Albany, New York, down 57.1%. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, down 23.1% as far as pricing, but down 65.6% decline in housing demand. And keep in mind, a lot of this is because of the boom that went on during COVID. A lot of these areas, like Boise, Idaho, like Winston-Salem, just shot up. I mean, ridiculous increases. So a lot of this it's just coming back a little bit. Or a lot. Greensboro, North Carolina is the last one on my 10 here, and the median sales price in that area is $263,000, which is 16.9% higher than a year ago, but only 362 homes were sold. That's less than half of what were sold the year prior. So their demand is down as well, 67.6%. So there are other areas in the country that are not as resilient as Southern California that are kind of a bellwether that we need to pay attention to, because things are happening and you need to kind of know. It's all well and good to say our housing market is okay now. Prices are very, very good. But things change over time. They just do. So I see it's time for us to go to a break. I love talking about this stuff. I don't want to bore you with the market stuff. So when we come back, we're going to have a guest in the studio. John is a client we just wrapped up with. We just sold his house. We're going to talk about that. So we use the resale renovation program, something that's near and dear to my heart, a program that we created in my office many, many years ago. Make it easier for people to sell houses, and more important, how to get more money out of your house. Because I'm the guy who gives away money to fix up your house. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have John in, talk about his experience. We're going to go over the numbers as to what we just did. And these are real world numbers. We just did this. And I'll give you a comparison to a house across the street. So it should be interesting. So please stay tuned. Please stay in there. Please listen to us through the break. Because when we come back, we're going to talk about all kinds of good stuff. Literally, how to get free money to fix up your house. Literally, it's free money. You don't pay it back. We're just giving it to you. So come back after the break. We'll learn all about that. I'm Rich Sherman. You're listening to The Fix with Rich on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. We'll see you when we get back. Hello. Thank you guys for listening through the break. Thank you for coming back. I'm Rich Sherman. I'm your host of the Real Estate Fix with Rich. We call it the Real Estate Fix with Rich because that's my name. On KHTS 98.1 AM 1220, your hometown station. And I thank you guys for tuning in. We have a special guest in the booth today, which I'm very excited about. John, we don't use last names. We have clients on. But we have John, who's a client of ours, become a friend of mine as well. And we're going to talk a little about his situation, what we're able to do for him, because this is emblematic of what my office does. This is how we solve problems. This is the kind of thing we get into. So we're going to get into this in just a second, but first let me tell you the program that we used. Well, first of all, I think we met, 5-6 years ago, something like that, 7 years ago?
Easily.
It was a while.
Well, closer to
10?
12,
that long ago?
Yeah, you saved my house originally.
Yeah, well, we met because you're having trouble with the mortgage, which is a lot of people do. It happens all the time. As a matter of fact, the number of foreclosures up.
Yeah, I was in the toxic loan syndrome.
Yeah, you had an awful loan. As I remember, it was negative amortization, if I remember.
It was interest only, forever, and it was going to just start variable, and it was going to start climbing through the roof.
Yeah,
so 7 years, $3,500 a month for 7 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So let me help you out a little bit, audience. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, and what caused a lot of the crash that was the 2008 crash was these really exotic mortgages that banks were getting into. And what John had on his house was something called an interest-only loan. A lot of you are probably familiar with that, but that's basically where you own the house in title, but every month that goes by, you're making the payment, but you're not reducing the amount that you owe because you are only paying the interest, which is the bank's profit. So in effect, you're kind of renting your house. You're not really buying it because you're not reducing the amount that you owe, and there's no point at which you can pay off a loan simply making interest-only payments. So they had you kind of on that treadmill. treadmill. They were bleeding you dry, and they were getting their money out of it. But what you owed, you were not building any equity because you can't build equity.
No,
because every payment you make just goes to that.
Just building frustration only.
Yeah, it's just frustration. So we got that sorted out for you. We got you into a better situation, and here we are 12 years later, and life has changed. It's time to sell the house. And what we did is came up, took a look at the house. It's in Canyon Country. Very nice house with a pool, all kinds of stuff. But it had seen its day. It had been a little worked over. It had been a little beat up a little bit. It was missing a few cabinets.
They're old houses. I mean,
yeah, the yours was built in 68, I think.
69.
69, okay. So, they're older houses in Canyon Country. We got a lot of that out here. That's nothing wrong with an older house. I mean, heck, I've got one right now that's in escrow in Los Angeles. It was built in 1936. Wow. So I think that's fantastic. Yes. So 69 seems young by comparison. Anyway, so the house needed a little bit of work. And what happened is we first sat down, and you had a house right across the street that is a model match to yours, same house, frankly in better shape at the time anyway.
Yes.
With a view. It also had a pool, and it had a view. Very, very nice house. And that house, and we're going to talk about why, but that house sold for $745,000, which is $5,000 under the list price of $749,000. And this is just a few months before we sold your house. And so we came into your house, and so we talked about that one, and we all went, well, okay, that one sold for $745,000. That seems a little low. And I said, yeah, that's crazy low. That's way. We can do a lot better than that.
Yeah, let's go for 900, right?
9 would be great, but we can't do that well. It's the market's still what the market is. So what we did, we do this in a lot of houses, is we have something called the resale renovation program. I name things like that because I like alliteration. Resale renovation program. And under the resale renovation program, what we do, and this is again what I teased before the break, we literally give away money. We give you money to fix up your house because it's a very simple idea here. Houses, and I'm sure you'll all agree with this, houses in the best shape sell for the most money the quickest. That's
Absolutely.
All. It's not hard to figure out. If you go to a grocery store and you're picking out a tomato, the tomato that's all squishy and black, you're not going to buy. The tomato that's all ripe and nice and shiny and red, that one's going home with you.
Yes.
It's the same thing with anything. It's the same thing with houses as well. And your house is a great house. It just needs a little spit and polish. It just needs a little work. It's how a lot of houses, especially if you've raised a whole family there and all that good stuff, they have deferred maintenance. They just do. Flooring needs to get replaced. Paint needs to get done. And these are not, huge things, but they make a massive difference. So what we did under the resale renovation program, and this is how it works, is we can give you up to 1% of the projected resale value of the house. So we figured we'd get about $800,000 for it. I figured that would be good. It was pretty solid once we did the work. Again, the one across the street had just sold for $745,000, so everybody thought we were a little crazy on the topic. I got a few calls from other realtors that I'm overpricing the house, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to the punchline in a second. So under the resale renovation program, because we priced the house at $8,000, I think we give you $7,000 that you don't pay back. We just give it to you. Here you go. It's a gift. And obviously you can't just go, put that on, go to Reno and put it on black. You have to use it to fix up the house. We have to pay the contractors directly, all that good stuff. So I've been asked that. People think that I'm going to give them cash, and it is cash. You can use it on any contractor you want, but we have to pay the contractors directly. There are some rules, not a lot, but there are some. But you can use whatever contractor you want. You can be a handyman if it's a job that doesn't require a license, whatever. And what we did is, so we went in and we spent a little bit of money on the house. The house needed a little bit more work than that. So I think we lent you the rest of the money for the house, which we do all the time too, because sometimes, like in this case, $7,000 got us part of the way there, but not all the way there. And I knew if we'd spend a little bit more money, because we needed to do all the flooring, there was some other stuff that needed to be done, some paint outside, some paint inside, fixing some stuff up, repairing some termite damage, stuff like that. I knew if we did that work that we would do well.
Absolutely.
And so it took us about a month or two to get the work done. And for those of you guys who are listening, in addition to free money, I have another tip for you, a little secret I'm going to give away before the end of the show as well. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of contractors that we use, which is kind of my secret weapon. I don't like giving out their information because they're great at their jobs and their prices are very, very reasonable. And that's why I use them. And I'm lucky enough to do a lot of this stuff, so I keep them pretty busy. But I'm going to give out their information at the end of the show. So if you guys are interested, if you need some help, these are some guys you should talk to because their prices are spectacularly good. But anyway, so we went into your house, we fixed all this stuff up, and the punchline is, what did it sell for? $815,000, which is $70,000 more than your neighbor sold their house for. Again, it's an identical house, and they have a view and you don't. Now, I think that's for a couple of reasons. That other house is in pretty good shape, but the people who sold that, and you never know. Maybe they're in a giant hurry. Maybe they had to sell it because they were being chased by the law. I don't know what their situation is. Maybe there's some reason they had to sell
Tony
it.
was the law. He was a retired police officer.
Okay, well then hopefully he wasn't being chased. Who knows? But my point is just they may have had some other reason. But in addition to them only selling the house across the street for $745,000, which was, I think, too low, and I think we demonstrated the fact it was too low. According to the MLS, there's also $22,000 in concessions. So that 745 is actually, yeah, you didn't know that. So 745 is actually a net of 723. So that means you sold your house for $93,000 more than the one across the street.
Wow.
And the big reasons for that, I think, because we got your house up to pretty much, if you take, I spent a good portion of the evening yesterday just kind of comparing the pictures and that. And once we were done fixing your house up, it was very similar to the one across the street. I mean, yeah, a little bit better flooring. They had a little bit better if they have a view. There's some trade-offs, but ultimately those two houses really are comparables. They're across the street from each other, the exact same square footage, built at the same time, in very, very similar condition. There should not be that much variance. In my view, there was that much variance because, and not to put too fine a point on it, you had a better realtor. That's what it comes down to. It really does.
And he just took the words right out of my mouth. Guys, if you're going to sell, if you're going to buy, Rich Sherman. What's that phone number, Rich?
661, so you're pretty familiar. 661-714-1400.
That's his personal cell phone, y'all. I promise he'll answer within 2 rings. Okay. Yeah, unless it's me and he sees me calling.
Yeah.
Then he might.
I make you text. Yeah. I answer your calls as well. But anyway, no, because when I realize
2 rings, y'all, I promise.
I'm not just, no, rarely, but I'm not just, I don't want to, make fun of another realtor, that sort of thing. I certainly won't tell you who it was, but I really do think that in the case across the street, first of all, I know the other agent who sold that house part-time, not a full-time agent. And again, there may have been many other factors I'm totally unaware of. So I don't want to, put anybody down here. I'm just saying that you got nearly $100,000 more out of your house than your neighbor got out of his. And if your neighbor hears this, I have a feeling he's going to be a little upset, because if he'd hired me or hired somebody of my caliber, there are plenty of agents in town that are very, very good. I'm not the only one who's good. There are a lot of them. But when you hire a second tier or a third tier agent, that's what you get. If you go to McDonald's, do not expect a gourmet meal. It'll be quick and it'll be easy, but it will not be a gourmet meal. You also shouldn't be paying the same amount of McDonald's as you pay someplace else. As you go to a proper restaurant. And I have no idea what they pay. That's none of my business. But what I do know is they sold their house for $745,000, and according to the MLS, with over $22,000 in concessions. You sold yours for $815,000 with no concessions.
None.
Now they're sold in 13 days. Yours sold in 15 days. I think for $93,000, it may have been worth the extra 2 days. And that was just because we were in negotiations over a holiday, I think. But yes, we're talking about over $93,000 more that we made on your house than the one across the street. Rarely do you get examples that are that direct. They are the same model. They're built at the same time. I would submit the one across the street might have even needed to sell for more money because they got a view. It's pretty nice. They have a pool. They have a view. House is in good shape. Nothing wrong with that house.
Yep.
And I'm sure that they were very happy that they sold as quickly as they did. They also had it listed at $749,000 and they took $745,000 for it.
Unbelievable.
I don't get that either. Not in the market conditions we're in. And we were in those conditions then. That one closed in March and ours closed in June. So it wasn't that different. But anyway, so yeah, under the resale renovation program, what we do is we come in, and we take a look at the house. We'll say, like in your house, we took a look and there was one kitchen cabinet that was missing because of a plumbing issue. There were some plumbing issues that had to be sorted out. There was some carpet paint, stuff like that. And we sat down and we put together a list of what we thought needed to be done. And it's always 2 lists or 3 lists. It's always what we must do to pass inspection, what we'd like to do because we'll get more money out of the house. And boy, if we could do that, that'd be super swell. Everybody has 3 lists like that. I know one of the issues in your house we took care of had nothing to do with the sale of the house. Just I hate the garage door. The passenger door to the garage. It's been beaten up for years. We hate it. I just want it fixed. I don't want somebody else to have to deal with that, which was very nice of you to do.
And it looks really nice.
Yeah, and it's been replaced. So that's what the buyer coming in will have a new door, which is nice. So that kind of went into the third category. But there was some stuff in the first category that we needed to do, strapping water heater, stuff like that. There's some stuff in the second category, which is carpet, paint, that sort of stuff. But we got it all done. We spent the money. And as a result, we figured you're going to be worth about $740 because, beat up. It's the one next door. And yeah, we sold for $815 and it was quick. It was not hard. We had multiple offers. I think we had 4 or 5 offers to choose from, which made it easy. And it sold for a whole lot more. So yeah, so what we do is we come in, we evaluate the property, with the client. We don't do it on our own, obviously, because it's your house. And we say, what do you think needs to be fixed? And a lot of obvious things are, like in your case, the missing cabinet in the kitchen was a little tricky. And, I was actually, as a matter of fact, because I had some before and after pictures of your house, which we can put online as well. And that cabinet thing, I talked to a friend of mine who owns a cabinet shop, and he said for him, that's a $5,000 fix. To build a custom, $5,000 for one little cabinet in the kitchen. We'd pay near that.
Wow.
I think it was like $500 or $600 to get it done. So we wound up paying. So, and yet again, if you guys are listening, I will give you the contractors who do the work. So the trick is we get in there, we put together a list of what needs to get done. We then, price it out. And it doesn't have to be a contractor I choose. It can be a contractor you choose. That's fine. If you have people, you can do that too. Usually the people I recommend are a little bit cheaper, usually a lot cheaper because I keep them busy and they give me really good prices because of that, because we keep the trainer rolling. And so, yeah, we were able to go in, and I think the total tab for everything was about 38,000, 40,000, something like that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so we spent a little under 40,000 all told. 7 of which I just gave you. The 30, I think I lent you. So we'll get that back. You'll have to pay that back. But yeah, you made an extra $93,000 over and above where we thought we'd be. That's a pretty good deal. I mean, if there's something else I could invest $40,000 in and get a return of $93,000, I would do it. I think most people would. And that's also the key with the resale renovation program. Everything we do, every dime that we spend, we expect 20 cents back. Every penny that we spend in the resale renovation program, we expect to we expect to get 2 cents back. So any money spent, you have to expect a twofold return or one-fold return. We expect to double our money. That's the way that works. Because like there's some things you'd like to fix in house. Like I have a client right now who really wants to replace the windows in her house. And if she really wants to do it, we'll do it. But you don't make money on that. You just don't, because she's going to spend about $20,000 in windows and she's going to make exactly nothing. If she gets $2,000 or $3,000 out of that, that's great. Now, whereas with something like flooring, which you'll spend $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 on maybe, depending on how elaborate you get, you'll get every dime of that back plus. And if you can get $10,000 worth of flooring for $4,000 or $5,000, which I think we were able to do in your house, you do even better. So that's kind of the idea. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah. And I highly recommend you guys trust Rich and just follow his lead, and because he knows what to do to get that yield. So,
well, I've been at this for a while. So, 32, 33 years now I've been at it. So, and yeah, I got into real estate years ago simply because I was annoyed. My mom asked me to help with some stuff. I was home visiting on vacation from school, and she asked me to help out with some stuff. And the more she explained to me how real estate works, the more I was just baffled by it, because it doesn't make sense. It's not that I didn't understand it. It just doesn't make sense. Yours is a good example. Most people don't have $30,000 or $40,000 to put into their house to resell it. They don't have the money available. Some do, but most don't. So why not, simply from my point of view, why not just step into that breach, give you a part of the money, you don't have to repay it. The renovations in your house are a little more extensive than we typically do, although we can. Come up with the rest of the money so the work can be done, because it's better for you, it's better for me, and it's way better for you because I'm making a couple of percentage points. So the more money we spend, the more money we make on the house, the more I make a little more. So it's my interest as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's really in the homeowner's interest. Because, you got a lot more money in that house than you otherwise would, because we're able to spend some money on it. The contractors like it because they get some work done. The buyers like it because it's stuff they don't have to do. Mm-hmm. The house is ready to go, which is nice. So that way a buyer comes in, they can change the faucets if they want to. They can change they can make it their house, but they don't have to worry about what are some of the projects that are going on right now. An air conditioning system in Palmdale, or water heaters, or carpet, paint, garage door openers. I mean, that kind of stuff. And you'd be amazed. Well, I guess you wouldn't, because we've done this. Public listeners, you'd be amazed at how little tiny fixes can make a huge difference in the sale of a house. And it's not because you're fooling the buyer or anything. It's just a buyer gets an impression when they see a house, and a first impression is everything. And if their first impression is, well, this house is run down, the garage door opener doesn't work, and the air conditioning doesn't work, and et cetera, they won't even consider what the repairs are. They'll just move on to the next house.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they just will. I mean, unless the pricing's so good that they can't ignore it. So what you do is, and every time I talk to other realtors about this, they look at me like I'm crazy, is you put money into the house to fix those things. I mean, garage door opener is not expensive. Air conditioning is expensive. It's, $10,000 repair to put in a new system. 17 if it's really expensive, if it's a good size house. But compared to the sales price of a house, we were talking about houses in Wichita, Kansas for $215,000. If your house is only going to sell for $215,000 and you're putting, $15,000, $20,000 in an air conditioning system, that's a lot. But when the average sales price is $800,000, $900,000, $1 million, $17,000, $10,000 doesn't really mean a whole lot. I mean, easy enough to say because it's money in and out. But these repairs make a big difference. And again, we do them for you. You do not pay the money back. Up to 1%, we'll just give you. You don't pay it back. It is literally free money.
You also sold my mom's home, and I remember the first agent that walked through the door said, "We can easily get you $5.25 for it." And I just laughed at him and said, "Thank you for your time, but I already have an agent." And Rich walked in and said, "Well, I'll get you $600,000, no problem." And even though it closed during COVID, we got $600,000. So and put.
Yeah, I put some money into it. You and your brother, because your mom's house, and your mom unfortunately passed away, and so it was you and your two brothers, and so we had to get the house all sorted and get it sold. And God bless your mom, the house is in great shape, but home maintenance wasn't her primary thing at that point in her life. And some the carpet was dated, some stuff like that. So we went in, we did some renovation. You guys fixed the pool, which I remember that was hysterical.
Yeah, that was fun.
And, and it worked out great. And the house sold for top dollar. The buyer's happy with it because the house is in fantastic shape. It's in a great little neighborhood, also in Canadian country. And, everybody walked away from that happy, which is the idea. It's not that hard. Money does not solve all problems in real estate, but it solves most of them. It just does, especially in Southern California, because our prices are ridiculous. So when you think about these things as a percentage of the overall sales price of the house, the numbers don't seem that large. I've got a very good friend of mine in Idaho who's a Santa Clarita transplant. He's in real estate up there. And when I talk to him about our sales prices here, because it costs just as much to fix an air conditioner there as it does here. It's really not that big a difference. Honestly, it's a little bit, but not much. When I talked to him about our sales prices, he goes, well, yeah, of course that program works there because your sales prices are insane. I said, no, we don't work there too. And he's doing it now, and it is starting to work for him. So it's called the Resale Renovation Program. It works great. We literally will give you money to fix your house. I don't know how more plainly I can say that. There's nothing special. The entire program and the application for it is one page.
It's true.
I like keeping things super, super easy. There's no hidden fees. There's no anything. It's all super duper straightforward. List the house, sign the agreement, and let's go find a contractor. We got to get bids. Everything has to be done in writing, obviously, for all parties. The owner of the property has to sign off on any work before it gets done. And then we get him out there to go do the work, and away we go. And we don't have to use even contractors I recommend. We can use other contractors. If your brother-in-law's a contractor, you want to use him, fine.
I don't recommend that. I would definitely use Rich's. Yeah.
That's family stuff. That's your fail. That's other stuff. I'm just saying other people. So, anyway, so that's how the program works. It works great. We like it. If you have a house to sell, I don't care how nice your house is. Every house needs something. Some more than most. Some things it needs won't make a big difference. Other times it makes a huge difference. And you'll find most of the time it makes a huge difference. A little bit of money spent, and you don't have to be the one to spend the money. We will give you the money. And if it's something that rolls up more than 1% on the house, we'll lend you the rest. That's fine. We're happy to help. I say this, I plead for this all the time because I see houses every day that are on the market that I know are going to sell for a lot less than they should. And that seller is going to miss out. It's fine with me. We represent buyers too because our buyers will buy it. But that seller is going to miss out because they didn't spend the bucks. They didn't have the money to spend. They didn't have a realtor to step in. They didn't have a program to step in and get the house fixed up so they could get top dollar for it. Again, very, very simple premise here. Houses in the best shape sell for the most money the quickest. That's it. That's the whole idea behind it. Houses in the best shape sell for the most money the quickest. And if you don't have the money, use mine. I am more than happy. I'll loan you some. I'll give you some, whatever the heck you need. We'll get it done for you. That's the way it works. But I see we need to go to break here, so let's take a break. Hear from some more of our advertisers and stuff. Now, when we come back, in addition to giving away money, which everyone likes. When you come back, I'm also going to give you names and phone names of some of the contractors that we use. Help them out a little bit. So if you need them, you don't even need me. You can go straight to them. They're fantastic. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that, my secret weapons and getting this sort of thing done. Thank you guys for listening. When we come back, we'll have some more. My name is Rich Sherman. You're listening to The Fix with Rich on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. Hello, welcome back. You're listening to The Real Estate Fix with Rich on 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station, KHTS. And we're in studio today. I have a client of mine, special guest, John, who's a client and a friend of mine, whose house we just got fixed up and got sold, and we had incredible results with that because the one across the street, which is an identical house, sold for $745,000, which, if you believe the MLS, with $22,000 in concessions, dropping the effective price to the seller there, if you can believe what you see, to $723,000, whereas identical house just a couple months later, across the street without a view, we just sold for $815,000, $93,000 more than the one across the street. And the biggest difference for that is, and I don't want to sound like a egomaniac here, but the biggest difference there was me. And again, I know the agent who sold the house across the street. He's a good guy and he works hard. He's a part-time agent. That's just the reality of it. And he doesn't have the same tools in his bag that we have. He just doesn't. And most agents don't. You'll find that the agents and everyone knows the agents in town who do the most business, you see the names over and over again, they do this sort of stuff. I don't think they do the programs that we do. I hope not. I'd like to have no competition for it, but I don't know. So, results speak for themselves, and it's all well and good to sit behind the mic and talk about how I'm an expert and I've been doing this forever, and those things are true. But I don't know everything, contrary to popular belief, and I'm not always right. I'm just right more than I am wrong, and I'm right more than most people that's all. I'm also not adverse to learning new things. Things change all the time. So I promised that I would give out some information when we came back because two of the guys that I've been working with for many, many years, who I refer to as sort of my secret weapons when it comes to fixing up a house for sale, and one of the reasons we get away with doing this stuff, because we typically wind up with retail speaking, we usually wind up like in your house, there was about $60,000-$70,000 worth of work that was probably done on that house by the time we were done. No, cost us a lot less than that. Cost us less than 40. And the reason for that is because I have relationships with these guys and we've been doing it for many, many years. So they don't know I'm doing this, but I'm going to give out to them over the air. And I'm not going to give out their phone numbers because I haven't gotten their permission to do that. But you can certainly call me at 714-1400. Again, that's 661-714-1400, and I will give you their phone numbers. The first is a fellow named Omar Ramirez. He is the owner-proprietor of EORS Handyman Services. I'll give that to you again, EORS Handyman Services. And he is not yet a licensed contractor. He's studying for his contractor's license now. Fantastic story. Came to this country as an immigrant and is just working his tail off, and he does great work. I started with him as a painter, I think, about 5 or 6 years ago. And then one day he came to me and he said, I can fix that plumbing problem too. And I said, all right, we'll have at it. And one thing has led to another, and now we're at a point where we turn over whole houses to him. He does a fantastic job. Now, keep in mind, he is not yet licensed. So if it is something that requires a license, we have other people for that. Like if it's like repairing an air conditioning system we've talked about, I've got companies we use for that as well. But Omar is absolutely one of my secret weapons in getting this done. So Omar Ramirez, EORS Handyman Services. You will not be disappointed. His work is spectacularly good. I know that now because I have work that I have to do at my house, and I can't get him to come to my house because he's too busy doing other people's jobs. So I'm a victim of his success, but he is spectacular. I recommend him very highly. The other fellow I would recommend for all our landscaping stuff, and he also does hardscape and stuff. He did a ton of work at your house with railroad ties and cement work and all kinds of great stuff, is Pedro Aguirre. Again, Pedro Aguirre with Pedro's Landscaping. I've known Pedro for, 20 some odd years. I met him, I probably met him in 2006, I think, something around there. So, I actually think almost as long as I've known you. So yeah, quite some time. And he's, again, fantastic. You have to chase him a little sometimes to kind of get him on task. But once he's there and once they're working, they do a fantastic job. And as much as I don't like chasing him down sometimes, given what his prices are, it's fine. I don't mind making a few extra phone calls. We're going to, get landscaping work done for half price. That's fine with me.
It's hard to argue with that.
Exactly. And the results are fantastic. The work is very, very good. So if you are in need of any home renovation stuff of any sort, large jobs, small jobs, whatever, same thing with landscaping or any exterior work, same deal, painting, carpentry, any of that kind of stuff, light electrical, light plumbing, any of that kind of stuff, Omar Ramirez, EORS Handyman Services, or Pedro Aguirre, Pedro's Landscaping. They are both absolutely fantastic. I've been working with both of them for many years. Give me a call. I'll be happy to give you their information. I give out their phone numbers over the air, except I didn't get their permission first, so I need to do that before I do that. We'll get them up on the website so you can get it there as well through the station. But they are both fantastic. I recommend them both extremely highly. You had both of them working at your house. You're happy with the results?
Absolutely. Yeah, I concur.
Yeah, so I think in your house, well, let's see, exterior, we replaced, there was some railroad ties that made up a wall in the back, and one of the railroad ties, because of the hill in the backyard, had literally busted over 20 or snapped in two, and so we had some earth coming down there, and he came in, pulled out all the old railroad ties, put in new ones, redid the landscaping, both front and back, even found a little fountain we could stick up front, actually found two, because we found the first one, and then I thought that was a great fountain, and one of our relatives came to the house and said, that is a great fountain, and they didn't know we were going to use it for the sale, so they took it. And you're the only guy I know who has two bird fountains in his house, so great. We had a second one. It worked out beautifully. There's a bunch of cement furniture in the back I remember that Pedro removed for us that was, weighed a ton. He got that done for us. So they're absolutely fantastic. And inside it was carpet, paint. I know there was some plumbing. There was some light electrical, a lot of painting, replaced a couple of faucets, that sort of thing. Smoke detectors, got all that stuff installed. But it was quite the laundry list of stuff, but it all got done in less than 30 days. Part of that was just we should have planned a little better. Probably could have got done in 3 weeks, but we got it done in less than 4. And the house sold. It sold for a lot more than we expected. So the proof, as they say, is in the pudding. So yeah, I mean, you can't argue with those results. $93,000 more than your neighbor a month or two earlier.
Yeah, and every agent and every couple that walked through it all said the same thing, that the house was beautiful. All the focus was on the inside, all the walls, all the ceilings, all the flooring, and then all the little broken things. And people are super excited to get in there, and I'm equally as excited to get on.
Yeah. Well, there's also that. It's kind of like when you buy a new car. When you go to a new housing tract, there's that, and I don't mean, this is going to sound a little silly, but there's that sort of new smell. Like when you put in new carpet, when you repaint a house, that kind of stuff. And it works. It just does. I mean, there's a realtor I used to know many years ago who I thought the world of. She taught me so much, and I miss her a lot. She retired many, many years ago. A bit of a local legend. And she used to do a thing when she would do open houses where she would bake bread. And I'm like, wow, you're just really into baking bread? She goes, no, you idiot. It smells nice. That's why people come to the house. I think it's great. And they buy the house. I said, because it smells like bread? She looked at me like, yes. I could care less about it. I don't even like bread. I'm not a baker. I just do that. I learned how to bake bread so I could do this. And now there are even things, little kits you can buy that make the house smell like bread and cookies and stuff, because there's that smell thing that people react to, which again is not the best way to buy a house, but it certainly shouldn't be your first impression of a house, the way it smells. But it is part of the overall impression that makes people think, yeah, I want to live here. Because unlike any other commodity, when somebody buys a house, that is where they're going to live their life. Their kids are going to be there. They're going to be there. That's where that's home. That's incredibly important. And so their overall impression of that, they decide in the first few minutes whether they're interested in buying it or not. I don't think they make that final decision, but they make that a decision whether they're going to into it or not, whether they're going to come back around. So anyway, the resale renovation program, where literally we give you money to sell your house. We will fix up your house. We will get it sold for you. And we'll get you a lot more money than your neighbors. We are very, very good at this. Just in the last 2 months, we've got 2 really good examples of this, where we sold the house for $90,000 more than we thought we'd get in one case and $93,000 more in the other. And I think that speaks pretty well of the service. And I think it speaks pretty well of the program and the system. So we are literally giving away money. So if you have a house to sell, please give me a call. 661-714-1400 is my cell phone number. That is my personal cell. And as John can attest to, he doesn't answer on the second ring. Rarely, but I will do my best. 661-714-1400 is the number. I'm Rich Sherman. You've been listening to The Real Estate Fix on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, your hometown station. Thank you guys for listening. Have a fantastic week. And if you have real estate questions, you got concerns, you want to buy something, sell something, whatever, give me a call. I'm your guy. I'll fix your problems. Again, my name is Rich Sherman, 661-714-1400. You guys have a great week.